Giants fans, we have some breaking news to talk about in today's video, but it is competition week once again here at the Chat Sports Studios. And earlier in the year, one person commented on a Giants video 78 individual times. And we're trying to break that record today on the show. And whoever breaks that record, we're going to give you a shout out on the next video. So comment Big Blue. Whoever comments Big Blue the most, we'll give you a shout out on the next video. What up, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. We have some breaking news here early on a Monday morning. Hope you guys are having a good start to your week. Former Pro Bowl linebacker Deion Jones is set to take a free agency visit with Big Blue today on Monday. He is 28 years old. He'll turn 29 years old in November of this year. And crazy enough, he was a guy that I thought the Giants could be linked to prior to free agency. If you watch this channel, you knew that. But Ian Rappaport broke the news this morning and said former Browns and longtime Falcons star linebacker Deion Jones is visiting the Giants today. They may not be done adding at the linebacker position. He's talking about Bobby Okereke, signed by the Giants, signed that big deal. They also brought back Jared Davis, who finished the season with the Giants last year. They signed him in Week 17. He actually started the games that he played for Big Blue. But I honestly believe that Deion Jones is a perfect and would be a perfect fit for the Don Wink Martindale defense. And I think it is even more of a good fit because he doesn't have to be that Mike linebacker. I know the Giants run a 3-4 and they have two middle linebackers, but he can be that weak side linebacker next to Okereke. And he doesn't have to be the guy that takes on all the blocks. And he can just let his athleticism shine through because that is what Deion Jones, his athleticism is what made him great in the National Football League. He is one of the fastest linebackers in the NFL. He is truly a sideline-to-sideline guy. And in these sub-packages where the Giants want to play maybe just two linebackers or maybe one linebacker, and you can rotate Okereke and Jones in and out. Okereke, obviously the better player at this point, but Jones can hold his own, and he's got the speed to be a nickel or dime or dollar type of linebacker. So we're going to continue to break this down on today's show. I want to get the audience involved early on. Do you think the Giants should sign Deion Jones? Do they need to go out and sign another linebacker? Because they already have a couple of good ones on this roster, and they have a prospect in Darian Beavers, who they drafted last year out of Cincinnati, that I was pretty high on before he tore his knee up. Do they need to spend more money on that position? I want to hear from you. Type S for sign, type P for pass. And as you guys know, if you don't, now you know. If the Giants make a move, we make a video here on the channel, youtube.com/NYGiantsTV. We put out videos every day on Big Blue, and we're getting closer and closer to 27,000 subs on the channel. We're doing it for Brandon Jacobs. We're 175 subs away. Help us get there. Hit that big red button. Sub for Giants Dubs. Deion Jones, in my opinion, was one of the best linebackers in the National Football League early on in his NFL career. He finished third in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting in 2016 when he played in 15 games and had 108 tackles. Then in 2017, he had 138 tackles. Then in 2018, he missed some time, only played in 6 games. But then you see the stats on screen from 2019 to 2022. And that's 3 straight seasons of over 100 tackles. He's had 5 seasons in his NFL career. He's played in 7 seasons in an NFL career. 5 of those he's had over 100 tackles. And this is a guy that also can drop back into coverage and be solid in that department. He has 47 career pass breakups, and he's also a guy that has 12 interceptions. And he also has a sneaky ability to get after the passer a little bit, because what you saw him do last year with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cleveland Browns, he had 2.5 sacks, then 2 sacks in 2021, 4.5 sacks in 2020. He can do it all. Also has 23 QB hits in his NFL career. Guy has 5 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. This guy is just a good player. 11 career sacks and 5 career touchdowns, because once he gets the ball, he's got wheels and you're not going to catch him. How would he fit in to this linebacker core. I believe he would be a starter right next to Bobby Okereke. I like Jared Davis, but I don't think he's nearly as talented as Deion Jones is. I like Carter Coughlin, but I think he's more of a special teams type of player. Darian Beavers showed some juice early on in the preseason, but then tore his ACL. Cam Brown is a guy that's really going to make his living in the special teams department. Micah McFadden had a really good year last year in college, didn't play too much for the Giants, has some potential there. But I do think Deion Jones makes some sense for Big Blue, and I think it's apparent that Joe Schoen isn't done cooking. Joe Schoen is not done adding to this roster. I think he's going to continue to build this roster out. He knows this team needs to get better. Go listen to what Brian Daboll said to the media at the owners' meetings just a couple of weeks ago. People were like juicing up the Giants. You had a great year. You did this. And Brian Daboll stopped him and said, we got our ass whipped in the playoffs. And I love that mentality from my head coach. It was a great first season, no doubt about it. But that doesn't matter anymore. What you did last year doesn't affect this year. The Giants have to get better, and they have to add more players. And that's what John Mara said to the media as well. He was asked about Daniel Jones and what he needs to do. And he was talking about Daniel Jones and getting him more talent. But he also said, we're in a good position right now roster-wise. We just have to add a few more players. If your owner is saying that, that means you're not done adding players. The Giants need more talent. John Mara knows it, Brian Daboll knows it, and Joe Schoen knows it. The Giants had a great first year under this new regime, but it was so apparent the talent discrepancy between the Eagles and the Giants in that second round playoff game. I'm not saying Deion Jones fixes that, but it's a move. That's a talented player, and it makes you a much more talented linebacker core. Because when we show you these stats in a second about the Giants' rush defense last year, you might want to close your eyes because it was disgusting. Before we talk about those, though, make sure you guys are ready for the NFL draft. Because what? We're like 3 weeks away from round one of the NFL draft, and you can get your Giants draft hats, as those were just released. We have 2 different colors in multiple different styles. If you're a curved bill guy, we got you. If you're a flat brim guy, we got you. They got fitted, snapbacks. They got them all. Just go to chatsports.com/NYG draft hat. That's chatsports.com/NYG draft hat. That link will be in the comments and description of today's video. I want to talk a little bit about Bobby Okereke as well, because this is your starting linebacker, and he is an absolute beast. When you look at what he did the last 2 seasons for the Indianapolis Colts, the guy had almost 300 tackles in the past 2 years, 9 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, and 2 forced fumbles. He's going to help this defense a lot. Whether you sign Deion Jones or not, this linebacking core is going to be a lot better. How many times did we see on first down? And what I get flashbacks is of the Washington Commanders games, those 2 games. It seemed like every 1st and 10, they would run the ball with Brian Robinson and get 6, 7, 8 yards, and it would be 2nd and 2. You have Okereke. That's going to be a big lift. Signing Deion Jones would be elite, and that would improve your rush defense. Those 2 guys at your inside linebacker spot, in my opinion, would make you one of the most talented position groups across all 32 teams in the National Football League. The Giants played on defense so much behind the chains, and it caused Wink Martindale to be so creative on those 2nd and shorts and 3rd and shorts, where he wasn't really able to play his game. He wants to play a whole lot of press man coverage and blitz a lot, and he did that, but he had to counter his style because the Giants were always in a position where the offense was where they wanted to be when it comes to down and distance. And the stats, they showed that. The Giants' rush defense was one of the worst in the NFL last year, ranking number 28 across 32 teams. They gave up 146 yards per game on the ground, and signing a guy like Jones after you already signed Bobby Okereke would make you much better in this department. You already brought back Jihad Ward. You're going to have Leonard Williams. You got Dexter Lawrence, who a contract extension is coming for. You signed Nacho Raheem Nunez-Roches in NFL free agency. I'm excited about this team, and I'm really excited about Deion Jones signing possibly because he was one of my top free agent targets in NFL free agency. I thought the Giants were going to go bargain shopping at the linebacker position, and I thought Deion Jones was a guy that really fit that mold. I don't think he's going to sign a big deal at all. We'll talk about that in a second, but if you don't know, Deion Jones is one of the fastest linebackers in the NFL. Go look at what he's done in his NFL career, or just pop in Madden, and you'll see he has a 90 speed rating. Always one of those guys I wanted to draft in a fantasy draft. Deion Jones is a monster, and I think he'd come at a cheap cost. I think it'd only be a one-year cheap deal, maybe 1 year, $2-3 million, a little bit over the veteran minimum, probably laced up with some incentives. I think it'd be a great move for the New York Giants, and I think it would greatly improve their defense. They knew they had to add more talent at the linebacker spot. As much as I like Tay Crowder and Landon Collins and Jalen Smith, they ain't no Bobby Okereke, and they ain't no Deion Jones. Look, just because you meet, though, doesn't mean the Giants are going to sign you. More likely than not, these free agency visits result in signings. Remember, the Giants met with Ashawn Robinson. That didn't result in a deal. So I don't want to get everyone's hopes up, but I do think this deal could happen. I think it's more likely than not, considering they're already meeting an NFL free agency. But I want to ask this question before we bounce out of here on today's show. Get out your red pen. We're going back to school. Rate the Giants' defense for me. Scale it from 1 to 100. 1 being they're the worst defense in the NFL, 100 being they're the best defense in the NFL. Sound off for me down in the comment section, and give me a follow over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. The first place you would have heard about Deion Jones taking a free agency visit with Big Blue is over on my Twitter. So give me a follow over there at @MarshallGreen_. And if you made it this far in the video, you're a real one, so hit that thumbs up icon.